Greetings and welcome to the Danklit Podcast. It's me, your host, horror author Stanley J. Winter, and today I have another gothic classic for you to enjoy. So, last week, for those who joined me, I was, of course, in Whitby, and I was broadcasting from probably my favourite place in all the world, Whitby Abbey, and it was absolutely beautiful. Now, I did say in the video, it's just after sunrise. And then I said it's 8 o'clock, which isn't just after sunrise, but for me, it is after sunrise. Just after wake rise, anyway. I was out there in the field with my hat on and my sunglasses on in front of Whitby Abbey for 8 o'clock. I think that's quite impressive for me. Had a great time, wonderful time in Whitby. Really did. Whitby, like I found my place in Whitby. I've been there before. Got really bad food poisoning once there from dodgy lobster thermidor, but and I've never actually been to the Goth Weekend, but maybe I will this Halloween. I also want to go. They have a Krampus run on there at Christmas as well, which I'm really excited about. So yeah, I think Whitby is my not my home, but my spiritual home, and I think I've really been able to reconnect with the sea. In the last week or so, whilst being there, I've really reconnected with the ocean. I've lived inland for quite a while. It's nice to reconnect with with what you know, what you're familiar with. Just the sound and the smell of the ocean, really, really beautiful. Nice to have some Dracula thrown in as well. So today, I thought from Dracula, we'll move on to the other, well, what could be classed as the other great Gothic novel. Obviously there's a few, but Frankenstein. So I'm going to read from Frankenstein today. I got my nice Swish edition. This was Penguin released a sort of collection of really good Gothic novels about 10 years ago. Shelley, they did a Shirley Jackson. They did Haunting of Hill House as well by Shirley Jackson. This was the Frankenstein. Really cool kind of sort of cosmic blue cover. Nice kind of blackened edges to the pages, and look what I've got as a bookmark today. It's none other than the Hand of Glory that was is a real dead human hand, which I talked about in last week's episode, and I got to see the real thing in Whitby Museum, so that was really, really cool. Gonna send that postcard to I don't know, maybe my gran, see if she likes it. Anyway, we're gonna get on to Frankenstein. I'm not gonna waste too long on, well, I'm not going to waste any time on a plot outline because, again, like with last week's very, very famous book, most people are at least familiar-ish with the plot of Frankenstein. So I'm going to get straight into the extract. And the extract I picked is, well, a bit of a caveat here. Last week I talked about Lucy Westenra getting a stake through the heart and would have eventually been beheaded if I carried on. Today I'm also looking at, well, some might argue that this is a scene which features violence towards a woman, but it isn't quite, and I guess you could argue that Lucy Westenra wasn't quite a woman either, but this is another scene that feminists like to talk about a lot, okay, because it's very interesting, I guess, from that point of view. It is the scene in which Victor Frankenstein destroys the female monster he is in the process of creating. Now, I really love the kind of gloomy atmosphere of this. It also features the seaside. But really, the sea kind of adds to how heavy of heart Victor is in this scene. How it sort of weighs heavy on his emotions. He really doesn't want to be doing this horrible task. And I think all the enthusiasm that was driving him the first time he did his kind of dark trick, if you will, to bring about life. That's another Anne Rice reference. If I don't mention Anne Rice in every episode, there's something wrong. I love Anne Rice. But yeah, his dark trick, his magic or whatever, like the first time he did it, he had all the enthusiasm of discovery, but now he has none of that. He just has the kind of the mundane, dirty, grimy, guilty experience of doing something that he really doesn't want to do. And I think the atmosphere of the ocean surrounding his little island, his little hut, really kind of reinforces that. Anyway, we'll get into the extract. Slightly longer one this week. But basically, Victor has made a monster. The monster has been allowed to just leave, and has been running amok in the world, has a miserable time, is rejected by everybody because of how ugly he is and how odd he looks. He's like 8 foot tall, and he tries his best to connect with the family, this monster, but they end up shunning him because of his appearance. Is very brutal, very harsh. Of course, we empathise greatly with the monster. However, he is pissed at Victor because Victor made him and then just disappeared and left him to his own devices. The monster is angry with him. It wants revenge. Of course, he blames his maker for his misery. So he seeks out Victor, finds his family home, and murders his 5-year-old brother. Not only murders the kid, but also frames the governess, who is like a close family friend, for the murder, and she hangs. So yeah, not great. I think it's significant, isn't it, that that we see the monster, that the monster's first victim is a child, because he's a monster then. So there's no kind of oh well, maybe he's not really a monster. The guy he killed was kind of evil anyway. No. He's gone in at the deep end here. He's killed a child, and there's kind of no way back from that. He is a monster now, but he is still one that we do take pity on. I think most people would, because of how he came about, but he's still a monster. So we've got this great kind of moral complexity about this, right? And also we're kind of on Victor's side, but also I think, you know what? I think Victor gets a bit of a hard press. You get a lot of these people, the famous cliche quote, which is, what is it? Knowledge is knowing that knowledge is knowing that the monster is not Frankenstein, but wisdom is knowing that the monster is Frankenstein. It's like, no. Victor Frankenstein is not a monster. He did something that he thought was good. He created life with sort of benevolent intentions. It happened. It worked. He succeeded. He did steal some grave body parts, but everyone was fucking doing that then. They were stealing bodies left, right, and centre, to the point where they had to put cages on top of the graves, for God's sake. So he at least was doing it with like for a good purpose, for a good cause, as he saw it. He does it. He does want a bit of fame as well, of course. He wouldn't. Achieves it, makes a monster come alive, creates life, is effectively like godlike at this point, and then he just can't deal with it. The monster comes alive, and he's like, fuck, this is horrible, and runs away. Has a mental breakdown. I think that's the key point here. For me, people miss this. They think, Victor, what a coward, what a wimp, or how irresponsible, what an irresponsible dude, just fucks off, leaves this monster to its own devices. But none of us know what that would be like, to see the horror that he saw. We can't even comprehend that, what it would be like to see something unnatural but uncanny come to life in that way, kick into life. You know, it's kind of flesh barely covers the arteries in its face. It's grotesque. Maybe it smells. I don't think he says that. It's gross. Who knows how we would deal with that? Okay, so I think saying that he's a monster is a bit of a like, kind of pisses me off when people say that. It's a bit of a stretch. Anyway, he does fuck off. Monster's left to its own devices. Monster has a bad time, kills his brother. I said I wouldn't do a plot summary, but fuck it, I've done it now. You get one thrown in for free. We're at Orkney now. Why are we at Orkney in the Scottish, northern Scottish Islands? Well, because the monster has said to Victor, do one thing for me. Do one thing. You owe me this. You owe me this. Right? Make me a companion. Okay? I don't want to be... Why is it right that everyone should be... every animal should have its mate. Everyone should have a companion but me. Why do I have to live in solitude? That isn't fair. You owe me this, Frankenstein. Make me a companion, a female companion, a girlfriend. Make me a girlfriend, and I'll go. You'll never see me again. I'll vanish. I can live. I'm tough. I can live in the bloody snow or whatever. You won't see me again. You won't see me again. And Victor's like, fine, okay, I guess I owe you that much, and I want you to go away. So I'm going to do this thing, okay? He's having regular nervous breakdowns at this point. His nerves are all over the place. So he goes with his best buddy, Henry Clerval, who's like the most loyal friend you can imagine. The only person more loyal than him is Elizabeth, who is Victor's long-suffering fiancée. More about her shortly. So Victor and his friend Clerval, they go on a jolly, although it's not very jolly. Victor's miserable the whole time. They travel through Europe, Britain. They get to Orkney, the Orkney Islands, and Victor decides this is a suitable place for his grim task. So Clerval, I think, stays on the mainland, does a bit of sightseeing, and Victor sets to work. So that's where we are. It says, in this retreat, I devoted the morning to labour. But in the evening, he wasn't giving birth there. Labour, the labour of collecting the body parts. Although he is often seen as kind of a mother to the monster. So perhaps. But in the evening, when the weather permitted, that would be a better story, wouldn't it? If he actually birthed a female monster. Anyway. But in the evening, when the weather permitted, I walked on the stony beach of the sea to listen to the waves as they roared and dashed at my feet. It was a monstrous yet ever-changing scene. I thought of Switzerland. It was far different from this desolate and appalling landscape. So, yeah, again, we get the kind of the atmosphere, this desolate, bleak atmosphere here. Its hills are covered with veins, and its cottages are scattered thickly in the plains. Its fair lakes reflect a blue and gentle sky, and when troubled by the winds, their tumult is but as the play of a lively infant when compared to the roarings of the giant ocean. Yeah, so there is something in that, isn't there? A lake is very kind of dainty, very delicate, very picturesque, but the sea is a fucking beast, isn't it? The sea's a beast. And there's no messing with it. In this manner, I distributed my occupations when I first arrived, but as I proceeded in my labour, it became every day more horrible and irksome to me. Sometimes I could not prevail on myself to enter my laboratory for several days, and at other times I toiled day and night in order to complete my work. It was indeed a filthy process in which I was engaged. During my first experiment, a kind of enthusiastic frenzy has blinded me to the horror of my employment. My mind was intently fixed on the consummation of my labour, and my eyes shut to the horror of my proceedings. Yeah, the fact he calls it his labour, it's like he's trying to see it as it's just work. He's trying to become emotionally detached from it. I think, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting too, thinking about how horrible it is. Because you often forget that, I think, when we talk about serial killers and murderers and things, which is what this scene reminds me of in a way, because of how secretive he has to be and how kind of grim and forbidden it is what he's doing. And obviously he's dealing with the mess of body parts. But yeah, we often think of like a serial killer relishing and getting an intense thrill out of every second of each bit of the process of killing, disposing of the bodies. But I bet it's a pain. I bet it's physically laborious, horrible, and a pain in the arse at times. And I'm sure there's moments when they'd rather be having a McDonald's breakfast or something than I've got to go bury this corpse or whatever. By the way, yeah, I listened to a true crime thing, which I do a lot, the other day, and it was saying there's some murderers in Britain. They what is it called? Took the limbs off a corpse, and it took them 12 hours. And I'm thinking, Jesus, 12 hours. That's a really imagine the physical effort. I'm guessing they didn't have power tools, maybe just like a handsaw or whatever. I don't know. Take a while, but yeah, this is probably the same. This is probably this is like a physical process that Victor's the victor's going through here. I'm just looking around. I need to wet the whistle. Don't have a drink here. Oh, never mind. I'm gonna have to do it dry here. I'm gonna have to go in dry. Anyway, might get a bit croaky. Yeah. Now I went into it. But now I went into it cold blood, and my heart often sickened at the work of my hands. So yeah, he's disgusted by what he's doing, and there's none of the previous enthusiasm that he had for this work. Because again, when he first did this, when he first made a creature out of body parts, he was like really excited, and now it's just mundane, it's bleak, it's bland. He'd rather be doing like a million other things. Thus situated, employed in the most detestable occupation, immersed in a solitude where nothing could for an instant call my attention from the actual scene which I was engaged, my spirits became unequal. Bet they did. I grew restless and nervous. Every moment I feared to meet my persecutor. Sometimes I sat with my eyes fixed on the ground, fearing to raise them, lest they should encounter the object which I so much dreaded to behold. I feared to wander from the sight of my fellow creatures, lest when alone he should come to claim his companion. In the meantime I worked on, and my labour was already considerably advanced. I looked towards its completion with a tremulous and eager hope which I dared not trust myself to question, but which was intermixed with obscure forebodings of evil that made my heart sicken in my bosom. Yeah, so it's all dread. It's all misery and gloom. No wonder Clerval stayed on the mainland. He doesn't know. His friend doesn't know about this, by the way. So, chapter 111. I sat one evening in my laboratory. The sun had set, and the moon was just rising from the sea. I had not sufficient light for my employment, and I remained idle in a pause of consideration of whether I should leave my labour for the night, or hasten its conclusion by an unremitting attention to it. As I sat, a train of reflection occurred to me, which led me to consider the effects of what I was now doing. 3 years before, I was engaged in the same manner, and had created a fiend whose unparalleled barbarity had desolated my heart and filled it forever with the bitterest remorse. I was now about to form another being of whose dispositions I was alike ignorant. She might become 10,000 times more malignant than her mate, and delight for its own sake in murder and wretchedness. Yeah, so that's a really interesting point, isn't it? He doesn't know. He takes a moment out here just to reflect. And he's like, I don't know what this creature's going to be like. I didn't know what the first one was going to be like. Turns out he's a bastard. This one could be even worse. Even worse. Just don't know what she's going to be like. She could be just evil for evil's sake. At least the other one was neglected and kind of had a reason to be bad. And we see this. Anne Rice, gotta mention Anne Rice again, with, of course, the vampires created in her world. We don't know what they're going to be like until they're a vampire. And I guess to some extent with Dracula too. Lucy Westenra is very different in her nature than Count Dracula, for instance. And I guess each vampire has its own personality, so therefore each monster has its own personality. Even zombies often have their own personality, I think. I'm not sure you can call it a personality, but never mind. So yeah, he's like, I'm not sure I should be doing this, really. Not really sure. Filled it forever with the bitterest remorse. I was now about to form another being. Yep. He had sworn to quit the neighbourhood of man and hide himself in deserts, but she had not. And she, who in all probability was to become a thinking and reasoning animal, might refuse to comply with a compact made before her creation. So yeah, this is a really interesting point, and it raises a lot about the kind of ethics of, well, to what extent will this creation have her own agency? And the answer is, she may well expect it, just as the first monster does, or has come to. She may be like, well, yeah, I never agreed to vanish from the face of the earth, or from being in around humanity, sorry. I never promised to stick around. I never promised to fuck off. I just might want to stick around, might want to check out Geneva, where your family lives, Victor Frankenstein, or I might want to go to London and unleash hell on the whole place. So, yeah, he doesn't know. She hasn't promised anything. So he's going into this blind, and that's dangerous. They might even hate each other. The creature who already lived loathed his own deformity and might not conceive a greater abhorrence for it when it came before its eyes in the female form. So yeah, this always makes me laugh. It's like, are ugly people attracted to ugly people? Being a handsome devil, I've never had to worry about this, but I'm sure that I don't know. Do they cut the cloth according to the means? Do they do like really ugly? Do they think yeah, you know what? I do fancy, like, I do find that 10 attractive, but probably better going for a 4 because you know, don't want to be shot down in flames, and I'm not rich, and I can't, you know, I don't have much else to offer. Like, I don't know. Do they think of it like that, or are they genuinely attracted to less attractive people? I mean, they must be to some extent, right? They must be to some extent. I don't know. But he's making a good point here. He's like, this, like, the male dude monster, he's after a mate, and presumably he's going to have quite low expectations here in terms of physical appearance. He's certainly already, like, loads himself. But the female monster might be very, very different. She might think, hey, I'm a bit of a hottie, and fuck you, I'm going to go get, go find me a 10, go find me some handsome dude, some romantic dandy, Lord Byron-esque, dude, Shelley-esque dude, and yeah, you can live in the Alps or wherever the fuck. You can go live in Antarctica. She also might turn with disgust from him to the superior beauty of man. Well, it's not always a superior beauty of man, is it? I guess to the monster, maybe. She might quit him, and he be again alone, exasperated by the fresh provocation of being deserted by one of his own species. Yeah, that would be pretty rough, wouldn't it? It's like he's already been rejected by the whole of humanity, and now even this monster fucks him off. Yeah, I mean, well, he's already been pushed over the edge, hasn't he? He's murdered a child, but yeah, I mean, what would he do then? I don't know. Even if they were to leave Europe and inhabit the deserts of the New World, yet one of the first results of those sympathies for which the demon thirsted would be children, not to eat them, obviously, and a race of devils would be propagated upon the earth, who might make the very existence of the species of man a condition precarious and full of terror. Do you know, when I read this, I'm like, fuck off. He's making them. He could just make one without a womb, surely, or without reproductive organs. Like, you're in control here, Victor. Although, I've read different, like, I was reading a forum about this because I couldn't find any easy answers, and one take on it is that they actually didn't know that much at all about procreation, as much as you would think when this was written. So they actually weren't as clued up. Like, I presume they must have known that, like they must have had some knowledge. They must have known what a womb is. They were chopping people up by that point and doing experiments on cadavers and things. Hence Victor Frankenstein. They must have had some idea of what was going on, but maybe he didn't know that it was possible to make a woman without a womb. Who knows? Biology wasn't quite what it is today, so we'll perhaps give him the benefit of the doubt. On the forum I was on, some idiot was like, well, it is highly unethical or questionable enough to spay an animal, which I agree it is. But it would be unthinkable to spay a human being. It's like, it's fucking horror. Do you know what I mean? Like no one's. it's pretty unethical stealing body parts and fucking bringing them to life. Like there's a lot of ethical quandary around that, isn't there? Like, whose were the parts originally? Do their loved ones, have they consented to this? Of course not. Have you told anyone, Victor? What do you have a contingency plan, Victor? What, you just gonna fuck off and leave it to kill everybody? Like, yeah, not the most ethical, but he's kind of down that road now. I think he has to. I think he kind of has to see it through, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, children. They're going to want children. I mean, yeah, they probably are, but Victor, it's up to you, surely. Had I a right, for my own benefit, to inflict this curse upon everlasting generations? No, you don't have a right, Victor. But then people have a right to subject their kids on the world, don't they, for generations to come? I mean, like, I don't know. To what extent do you stop being responsible for your grandkids? I don't know. I mean, he's definitely responsible for the monster, isn't he? But a few generations down the line, it could be like, well, didn't see that coming. That's on you. That's on you, monsters. I had before been moved by the sophisms of the being I created. Yeah, he's very eloquent, isn't he? You really empathise with him to some extent. The monster. I had been struck senseless by his fiendish threats, but now, for the first time, the wickedness of my promise burst upon me. I shuddered to think that future ages might curse me as their pest, whose selfishness had not hesitated to buy its own peace at the price, perhaps, of the existence of the whole human race. Well, I'd say you're beyond this now, Victor. You've kind of you've kind of fucked your own legacy here. I don't think that should be your main concern at this point. I trembled, and my heart failed within me, when, on looking up, I saw, by the light of the moon, the demon at the casement. A ghastly grin wrinkled his lips as he gazed on me, where I sat fulfilling the task which he had allotted to me. Yet, yes, he had followed me in my travels. He had loitered in forests, hid himself in caves, or taken refuge in wide and desolate heaths, and he now came to mark my progress and claim the fulfilment of my promise. So, great image, and I've never made this connection before between the monster and Belial, possibly. The kind of demon Belial, or Belial. Belial, who's often seen as like a god of the earth, god of forests. And in Anton LaVey's The Satanic Bible, we have the Book of Belial, which is all concerned with the earth, the earthy existence of man. And the monster, he has this connection to nature. He always appears in crashing thunder and backlit against the moon and creeping around forest. It's very cool. As I looked at him, his countenance expressed the utmost extent of malice and treachery. I thought, with a sensation of madness, on my promise of creating another like to him, and trembling with passion, tore to pieces the thing on which I was engaged. So, that's enough for him. He's already having doubts. He sees the beast, who he describes as treacherous. I mean, like, is he treacherous? He doesn't really owe you anything, Victor. He's not really betraying you. You're betraying him. And, he just scowls at him. And he thinks, fuck this. I'm not creating another one of these. Tore it to bits. His creation. Now, of course, this is, for all intents and purposes, a woman. Although it isn't. It's lots of bits of women sewn together, I imagine. But he makes pretty light work of it. This scene is, this could have been a lot more horrific than it is. But Mary Shelley pulls the punches here. Because they weren't so into gore at that time. And I guess it's quite good at being left to the imagination. If this was like a modern horror writer, I think you'd get a bit more. I'd certainly probably give a bit more here. There is room for gratuity here. I feel people could overdo it, But yeah, we just don't get very much of it, do we? He tears it apart. What the fuck does that mean? He pulls the head off, undoes a few stitches. Like, it's hard to tear flesh. Have you ever tried? Have I tried? I don't think so. Not human, anyway. Not animal, not any flesh. Meat. I mean, I've tried to tear meat. You can't tear a steak very easily, can you? You can't tear leather very easily, so I imagine it's hard. Anyway, he could have a knife. It wouldn't be a one motion thing, though, would it? It wouldn't be like, it'd be, it'd take you a good while, I think, to pull a corpse, to pull a gathering of corpses that are sewn together, unsewed apart. I don't know. Anyway, tore to pieces, the thing. That's kind of monstrous in itself, isn't it? Like, that image. Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? The wretch saw me destroy the creature on whose future existence he depended for happiness, and with a howl of devilish despair and revenge, withdrew. Kind of reminded me, this is a dark thing to, like, connection to make, but it almost reminds me of, like, a cuckolding here, because you have Victor kind of, the monster, like, peering in through a window, and Victor, kind of committing this violent act on the woman, which obviously violence can always be deemed as sexual in some way, can't it? And it's the monster sees it as his bride, his partner, his woman in a way. So, and Victor has just, done away with her, completely done away with her. And he's left powerless about it, because even though he can kill Victor, he can't do the dark trick. He can't make a creature. I left the room, unlocking the door, and made a solemn vow in my own heart never to resume my labours, and then, with trembling steps, I sought my own apartment. I was alone. None were near me to dissipate the gloom and relieve me from the sickness, the sickening oppression of the most terrible reveries. Several hours passed, and I remained near my window, gazing on the sea. It was almost motionless, for the winds were hushed, and all nature reposed under the eye of the quiet moon. So, starting to calm down a little bit. Few fishing vessels alone specked the water, and now and then the gentle breeze wafted the sound of voices as the fishermen called to one another. I felt the silence, although I was hardly conscious of its extreme profundity, until my ear was suddenly arrested by the paddling of oars near the shore, and a person landed close to my house. It ain't no 11s, tell you that much. And where did that come from? No, it ain't. So yeah, this is just a bit of calm, but calm before the storm in a way. And a few minutes after, I heard the creaking of my door, nice bit of horror, as if someone endeavoured to open it softly. I trembled from head to foot. I felt a presentiment of who it was. Well, it ain't going to be anyone, like, come on, who the fuck is it going to be? I guess it could be Clerval. The tea lady. Hello? Hello? Bringing some supplies. Oh, God. I trembled from head to foot. I felt presentiment, yep. And wished to rouse one of the peasants who dwelt in a cottage not far from mine, but I was overcome by the sensation of helplessness, so often felt in frightful dreams, when you in vain endeavour to fly from an impending danger, and was rooted to the spot. He just freezes it. Presently I heard the sound of footsteps along the passage. The door opened, and the wretch whom I dreaded appeared. Shutting the door, he approached me and said in a smothered voice, why is it a smothered voice? You have destroyed the work which you began. What is it that you intend? Do you dare to break your promise? I have endured toil and misery. I left Switzerland with you. I crept along the shores of the Rhine, among its willow islands, and over the summits of hills. That's on you, monster. He didn't ask you to come, did he? I have dwelt many months in the heaths of England, again, and among the deserts of Scotland I have endured incalculable fatigue and cold and hunger. You said you were a hard monster. You said you were tough. Fucking not gonna like the Arctic, are you then? Do you dare destroy my hopes? Yep. Begone, I do break my promise. Never will I create another like yourself, equal in deformity and wickedness. It is bad of Victor to do this, like to build up his hopes in that way. Like it is cruel. It's cruel. Slave! Oh, I before reasoned with you. He's pissed now. But you have proved yourself unworthy of my condescension. Remember that I have power. You believe yourself miserable, but I can make you so wretched that the light of day will be hateful to you. You are my creator, but I am your master. Obey. Obey. And we end there on the quote that is on the back of the book. Yeah, you are my creator, but I am your master. Obey, master, master. There are dreams that I've been. So, Frankenstein. Hope you enjoyed that. It's one of my favourite extracts of the book. It's just so gloomy. It's so dark. It's so grimy and horrible. Even I think after this, like, puts the bits of the female monster in bags and like sinks them to the bottom of the sea, and you know he goes like it's like he's Dexter. It's like he's fucking Dexter of the 1800s, and yeah, it has that feel about it. Really feel for the monster in this. Yeah, he's powerless, isn't he? Because although like he can make Victor miserable, like Victor could kill himself at any moment though, and then it's like, well, he's out. I guess again though, it's the whole like faith in God kind of the time makes that a little bit trickier. Although, can he really be that much of a believer in God if he's done what he did with the monster? Like God doesn't really feature that much here, as far as Victor's concerned. The monster does make a promise though. Just after this, he says, "I will be with you on your wedding night." Now, spoiler alert: Victor marries his cousin slash sister slash family friend. It's all a bit weird, but she's like the most perfect, patient doll of a character. Like, she's not a real character, she's a cardboard cutout, but she's so dutiful. She puts up with years of shit from Victor, making his monster, being, you know, insane, because he made his monster, and then they finally get married, and he's got this warning. He's like, "I'll be with you on your wedding night." So Victor, who's supposed to be intelligent, parades outside the hotel with a gun and is like, "Fucking monsters coming, not gonna get me though, not gonna get me," leaving his newly wedded wife in the bed and or the bedroom, and of course returns to find her ripped to bits, as was, of course, as you just saw, the monster's own companion. Didn't see that coming. So, a grisly end to the novel, and the two events kind of obviously sort of mirror each other in a sense. The destruction of women. Saying it's written by a woman, women don't do too well in this book, I have to say. Anyway, thank you for listening. I've been Stanley J. Winter. Do check out my website, www.enterthedank.com, where you can buy some cool merchandise, weird shit that I've written. You can learn more about me and my novel that's going to be out very, very soon. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Do tune in, do like and subscribe. I have like 4 subscribers at the moment. So, and I think one of them is myself. So it'd be nice to get a few more on the board. And yeah, thank you very much for listening. I'll see you next week.